Boys and Girls of Akron. He's done some amazing things up there. So yeah, good for him. He deserves all the publicity. I just wish he wouldn't have made it political, but I understand why he did it. But yeah.
Well, you'll have to fill me in on that part because I don't know that part. I just know the facts about the school itself, and it just spoke so. Sure. It said so much to me about somebody I don't know much about. I only know him as a public figure, and that's it. I can't tell you statistics like you can. I don't know any of that stuff.
Why is he political?
Well, we'll get that to that in a second.
He's anti-Trump. That's all.
Oh, okay. Well, that happens. There's always somebody who's anti the president, so that's it's almost like you just almost overlook it, unless it gets absurd. Like I don't know, Kathy Griffin got absurd, I think.
Right, I agree. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with being, political. That doesn't bother me.
No, Kathy Griffin was really bad. She was a sadist. She was really bad.
That comedian they had at the White House was pretty obscene too. So. Can't remember her name.
No, I can't either, but she was awful.
I can't either. I was trying to think of it.
All right, so the good thing is you can donate blood. Hey, today's International Beer Day, by the way. Just thought I'd tell you that.
Well, that's why tomorrow we're having my neighbor who's a beer fanatic. He's like a beer specialist guy. Loves it. So we're having a beer and pork pairing.
Oh, nice.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's going to be fun. I don't know. It'll end well, I'm sure.
What would be fun too is if you had party favors, you could go to Market of Marion and get these beer goggles and give them out to all your guests, and they're all different kinds, and that will be really fun.
No, we're going to earn our beer goggles.
Oh, there you go.
That's kind of fun.
Real beer goggles are earned.
Yeah, that's right.
So wait a minute. If you're in France and you're getting the beer goggle syndrome, and I don't know, like Margaret Thatcher looking woman walks past, or Queen Elizabeth woman walks past, and you whistle at her, right? Mm-hmm. You say it's the beer goggles. It wasn't me. Do you get off the
hook? Yeah. Are you allowed to catcall in a bar?
Oh my gosh! It says on the streets and on public transportation. So maybe bars are
bars are fine then.
Yeah.
Bars are all over the world.
Bars are bars all over the world. Yes. All right. So this is also the beginning of tax-free school supply weekend. So are you doing anything regarding that?
Yeah, I got to go buy both the boys' clothes. I don't know if they'll probably just go by themselves.
What do you got? Sweet tea? You got a sweet tea there?
No, I was drinking some water. My throat was really dry.
All right, Palm Garden of Ocala. Oh, I didn't ask you yet. How is the blood supply? And then we'll talk about the LeBron James school.
This is a big weekend for us. We're right at a 3-day blood supply, but this weekend we're giving a movie ticket away. For every blood donor, you're getting a free Fandango movie ticket. So please just give the gift of life and donate blood.
Wow, that's going to work out for you.
Oh, nice. I love that.
I know you don't like to give stuff away, but I think people like when you give stuff away.
No, I like I don't like to do gift cards because I think there's a issue there. But I don't have a problem with giving away a movie ticket. They're just really expensive. So, yeah.
Yeah, but Fandango, that means they can go to Fandango and then go get a movie ticket for any movie theater then.
Exactly.
Which is really nice
for us.
Yeah.
It's expensive for us. We have to buy those.
So donate blood, maybe go to a movie. There's a new movie out with Christopher Robin. Is that what it's called?
Yes, Christopher Robin.
Christopher Robin's all grown up.
Yeah.
And he's looking for poo, Galen.
Well, who finds him, right?
I don't know. I don't know. It's just a funny thing. All right.
I won't go to the movies to that. I'll rent it. I'll definitely rent it. I love Pooh Bear.
Let's see. Palm Garden of Ocala and Penn Flooring. We want to thank both of those companies for sponsoring every weekday announcement from Galen Unold to remind us that donating blood is the only way we can have a blood supply in our community. We have some really great medical personnel in our community that do such an amazing job at the hospitals and in the all the places that blood is used. I don't know if there's anything else other than a hospital, but they don't have blood if you don't donate it. So do that and get a movie ticket this weekend. Palm Garden, thank you. Take a tour of Palm Garden. You'll see why we recommend them for long-term, short-term respite care, rehabilitative care, physical therapy. What's the other one? Vocational therapy?
Yes.
Is that what they call it?
Occupational.
Yeah, I always mess up that. But anyway, they won't mess up. Take a tour. They'll answer all of your questions. They're at 2700 Southwest 34th Street. And Penn Flooring, it's a kind of a no-brainer. They sell flooring, and it will make your home or office look more beautiful. You'll never believe how great it looks when you put a new floor down. You just don't realize that, right?
I know. I should call my landlord, tell him I want a new floor in my apartment.
We got a new sponsor. He's got a really heavy Brooklyn accent, too. His name is Anthony. And he cleans wooden floors, right?
Yeah, he's wonderful.
Right? So
he's wonderful.
Go to Penn Flooring, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, and there you go. So one quick thing I want to tell you about that Brooklyn accent, Galen. I grew up about 10, less than 10 miles from the Brooklyn line, okay? And yet we had a different accent where I grew up. Isn't that weird?
Yes, that is weird. You guys are, but I mean, you're from New York. I mean, nobody expects anything normal coming out of New York.
I remember we had a kid come to our school from Brooklyn, and he had this very noticeable accent. And it was weird. Yeah. I mean, you could ride your bike there. It was so close.
It's on the island, right?
Yeah, it's all part of the same thing.
So that's yeah. Brooklyn's on Long Island, and you go to North Babylon, they don't talk anything like that.
North Babylon. That's funny. All right, ready for some facts about the LeBron James new school called the I Promise School?
Let's do it.
All right, number one, every kid at the school gets a free bicycle and helmet because LeBron says his own childhood bicycle helped him get out of dangerous neighborhoods and explore his city as a kid. They all get a bicycle, Galen.
Oh, wow. Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
It's just another one of those little things that, I mean, he thought about this. When you read all the facts, you could tell he's been thinking about this his whole life.
Yeah.
What would be the perfect school, and what can I do to make the perfect school? So, yeah.
I hope he gives them all a lock, and I hope there's some bicycle racks. That's what I hope.
No, you will not need a lock because everybody will have them. Have you seen the outside of the? Yes. Now, once you get home, it's a different issue. But have you seen the inside of the school or anything?
No, I have not. No, I did not. I had a chance to this morning when I got this article. It was the video, but I didn't. Mm-hmm. I didn't click on it. Yeah. Yeah.
Once you get inside the school, it's another world.
Here's another thing. Students receive free breakfast, free lunch, and snacks throughout their school day. They also get free uniforms. How about that?
Yep.
Do you think he's going to set a role model? Think other schools are going to follow this?
They already do. Public schools already do. And there's free breakfast at schools here.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the other thing, the bicycles and the helmets and all that.
No, I mean, that's if they're private, maybe where people are just buying them.
Mm.
But, I mean, this is all paid for by his foundation, and he's got millions and millions of dollars, in from Nike on. So,
if a
lot of money pouring into that school.
If a student's family is struggling to put food on the table, the school has its own food bank for them to use.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now this is a growing trend through all schools, including here in Marion County. I know Rondo from Mojo Grill is a big thing for him. That not only does he believe in a school bank and a food bank, but he also gives them certain supplies that they would need. What do you call them? Bathroom type supplies. So whether it's feminine products for women or toothbrushes and toothpaste and soap and that kind of stuff. I mean, it's completely free. You just walk in there and you say, I need it, and they give it to you. No questions asked. And that's the kind of thing that's popping up more and more in schools. And I know during the summer, a lot of schools have a lunch program where kids in the area can come and eat, so that they get a meal.
Do you know what grade levels go to this school?
If I remember right, I think it's like K through 12. I think it's all the way through.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking is because of the next thing. LeBron himself guarantees that every single student who graduates from his school will receive free college tuition at the University of Akron.
Oh my gosh, how marvelous is that?
Yeah, It's pretty incredible.
Wow. I mean, this guy is really.
You have to graduate. You have to graduate from there.
You have to prove yourself.
Parameters. Yeah. You have to hit certain parameters. But you got to remember, if you look at the enrollment process for this school, it's pretty incredible. How hard it is to get into this school. Well, I guess hard's the wrong word. How deserving you are is really based on your economic placement, where you're at, what are your current scores. And then you have to have some recommendations. So it's pretty good.
So the next thing is kind of what you implied earlier, but I guess I'd have to look at the video to understand it. It says the building itself is the coolest building ever. The only example it gives is the walls are lined with the athletes' former game shoes.
Yeah, that I think is kind of it is a shrine to LeBron. Let's make that very clear. I mean, there's LeBron James everywhere in it, so doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, but I think it's wonderful. I just think it's absolutely marvelous.
It's a role. It's not just showing off, though. I think it's being a role model. I think he's showing the kids that you can do this too. I don't know anything about his background. Maybe you can help us with this. Did he start out life as a poor kid?
No. I mean, I think he was. First of all, he was considered a basketball prodigy at the age of 8, and he went in the NBA when he was 18. Didn't go to college. Went straight from high school, where he went to a private school that paid everything for him to go to that school. Traveled all over the world in high school to play basketball. I mean, that's why they call him, King James. So, I mean, he's been a basketball prodigy his whole life, and he is giving back, but nobody loves LeBron more than LeBron. So here's fine. I mean,
so far, nothing really has addressed the learning process, but this one does. The calendar for the school is designed to keep students engaged in their learning. They have a longer school day and a shorter summer break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's 3rd and 4th graders. I just Googled it.
That's it? Just third and fourth?
Yeah.
So if you pass 4th grade, you get free college?
Well, you've got to maintain all the other. All he's trying to do is kickstart your learning program, right? From what I understand. So once you learn these skills and you adapt to these skills, then you're supposed to go back into your school system and shine and be that example.
I gotcha. Okay. Wow.
So he's feeding, which is a kind of a neat way of looking at it.
All right. The summer recess is 7 weeks long, and during that summer recess, they offer a STEM-based summer camp.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it, but they offer it. Okay. The school places a huge emphasis.
Well, and you know why they're going 9 to 5, right? It's so that they're off the street too, right? They don't want these kids to go home to an empty house. They want to make sure that they're not, walking around for 2 or 3 hours getting into trouble.
Okay.
So.
Students have.
I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
Students have support circles every day after lunch and daily classes to help them develop healthy life habits.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's very important.
There is.
Let's see. LeBron is implementing programs to help the parents of these children too. Okay. I don't know. It doesn't explain what that is.
Well, sometimes the parents don't, just think of sending their kids home after school by themselves as a convenience while they go out after work with their friends and things like that. And then they say, oh, no, you got food in the refrigerator or in microwave. And there are parents that like that.
Oh, here's some of the examples. Here it is. Okay. Parents at the school are given access to a GED program if they didn't graduate high school. If a parent is unemployed, the school has resources to help them find a job. The school will even help parents find suitable housing for their families. The school's motto is "We are family," and they really live up to it. How about that?
Pretty cool.
Let's see. The school treats the teachers pretty incredibly too. Most teachers have to pay for their own classroom supplies, but at LeBron's school, all supplies are provided for them. Well, that's good.
That's very good.
So you don't got to sell candy bars to get pencils.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like that one?
I hear that all the time. Well, no. I hear that all the time about how teachers have to buy all their supplies. They get money, and then kids have to bring their own stuff at some point. I mean, so I don't know. I hear that all the time. I think it's right to me. That's one of those things that bothers me. Just like when people say we need to focus on infrastructure. Okay, that's just a big word that you're using that means absolutely nothing.
What do you mean? It means
Give me
nothing.
a specific case. What infrastructure? When you use the word infrastructure,
right?
The politician uses it.
Right.
We need to focus on infrastructure.
Right.
Tell me exactly what you want to do with it. Do you want to build a bridge to nowhere? What does the word infrastructure mean? If you're going to use that, then give me a very specific place that you're going to use the money.
Okay, I can give you one. It's called LaGuardia.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay. That is a local. That's not a federal.
Oh, you didn't say federal.
That is a state, but that's who our politicians use it. You know, at the state level, they're not throwing around.
Well, you asked for one example. Oh, you want a federal example.
Sure.
Well, infrastructure could also be cell phones. I mean, cell phone high. What do you call it? With internet service, we don't have as good of an internet service as South Korea does.
Yeah,
that's considered part of the infrastructure.
Okay,
that's fair.
You know how small South Korea is compared to the United States.
So, well, let me ask you something then. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something.
That doesn't make any sense. So we're supposed to give internet service if you live in a rural mountain area where we can't get to because it snows, 10 months out of the year. You have to have great internet service there. They'll hook up a satellite dish.
All right. All right. You've hit a debate point here. If somebody says we need to improve the infrastructure in either our community or in the whole country, I don't think it's a stupid thing to say. I think it's a very good thing to say because I drive right now on 200 and there's a few places on Highway 200 that really need to have some improvements.
Exactly.
So
first of all, it's not a highway. It's not a highway. It's a state road. Therefore, if the state wants to put money into it,
well, that's it.
Then you go to the Florida DOT.
Right.
Okay, but that's and I agree with that.
Right.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
Yes, if you want to put funding specifically
to
this section of State Road 200, I'm for it.
Okay.
But if you want to pass some bill for infrastructure that includes $3 million and we're not even sure where it goes, and we end up with a bridge to nowhere like we have all the time, that's pointless.
Well, okay. But if you're running for county commission, let's say in Marion County, and you use infrastructure as one of your campaign points, then why would I not want to hear that? Because that money that comes from the Department of Transportation can only be released if the politician signs a bill that lets it get released.
Correct. I understand how it works. I want to know exactly where that money is going.
Well, that's a different issue, though. But you were upset with the use of infrastructure as a campaign promise.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because when they use it, they're never. I'm trying to explain it. So when they use the term infrastructure, they never say, I want to fix this bridge. What is the governor's bridge, whatever it is, right? We can never figure out the name for it in Ocala. I want to fix this bridge. I'd like, okay, I agree with you. You can fix that bridge. But if you're going to pass let's say in the state of Florida, a $2.1 billion infrastructure bill that might include a train and might not include a train, I'm like, why? What are we doing? That's all we're doing is earmarking money and increasing property taxes throughout the state of Florida for what? I want a very specific use of my federal of my.
Let me tell you what I hear. Let me tell you what I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing you're upset about infrastructure, but you're really upset with appropriating money. That's your real problem. Infrastructure should be something we should want. We should have the best roads. We should have shelters for the kids waiting in the dark for a school bus. That's part of infrastructure. We should have some kind of a system that allows us to use modern technology to pay for tolls rather than this crazy thing that's going on right now with SunPass.
Yeah.
Whoa. What are you talking about? What's wrong with SunPass? That's an electronic. That's a cure. And by the way,
you don't know?
The Turnpike was supposed to have been started by a private organization, and then the Florida DOT took it over.
Well,
I am for more toll roads that are privately funded. and privately run.
Okay.
Because they're better maintained because the government sucks at it.
Right. And right now the SunPass is privately operated and it's screwing up.
Right.
Yeah, it's messing up. It's not taking
horrible.
money from people. It's just there's no money.
It's charging people like 3 months later, and then they get bounce checks and all kinds of crazy stuff. But is that SunPass, or is that the actual people who are not paying it and it takes no. Look, just all you have to do is Google SunPass and you'll see it's in the news today. It's been in the news for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
But that's a big tangent, though. We went on a huge tangent there.
Yeah.
The first tangent was infrastructure instead of LeBron James School.
Yeah. School supply.
But I hear what you're saying, but I don't know. I mean, if a candidate says we need to do something about infrastructure, then yeah, they have to be held accountable for whatever money is collected for that infrastructure and how it's used. But I think the promise to do something to improve infrastructure is an important one. And if you don't like me using LaGuardia Airport as an example, then pick something else local. But that's a great example because it's a horrible airport.
I agree with you 100%. If we're going to talk about infrastructure, you have to be very specific for me, because I just think it's a term that's wasted. And nobody used it more than President Obama. He talked about how part of his whole campaign was to improve the infrastructure. Right. And there's no real evidence that ever happened.
Okay, but that's a different thing.
$billions that was wasted.
But that's a different thing. Okay, if I say to you, look, we need to fix the infrastructure, and then you raise your hand, excuse me, Mr. Whitler, what do you mean? And then I give you some exact examples, then you're satisfied. Then what I said doesn't have
100%.
All right, so infrastructure is not the issue. It's the appropriation of the money that's the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
It's the way the bills for appropriate. No, it's more than that. It's the way the bill for infrastructure is passed. You're given a huge bucket of money that is earmarked just for infrastructure.
Right.
And there are no specifics given on the bill.
Right. That's right.
That.
Yeah, but that's not campaigning for infrastructure. That's the bill that you're talking about, the specific bill.
But they
like all these crazy
campaign on infrastructure. They campaign on infrastructure, and rather than being very specific, they just said, "Okay, we just need a huge pot of money," and that's how these politicians get rich. If you look at it, it's all these appropriation bills that are based on where we're going to buy, land, and then they tell their buddies where they're going to build something, and then they go and buy that land, or they buy it from their buddies. And then it ends up to be a huge government scam.
The opposite of
the history of the country. That's where all the scams, and that's why people want to be politicians, so they can control that appropriations money.
The opposite of what you're saying is a candidate who gets elected and lets all the roads just fall apart, lets the bridges rust and have issues. And then the people come to him and say, wait a minute, we need some of this money to pay for those bridges. And he says, I never promised to fix the infrastructure. I heard from Galen, that was a bad idea to campaign. So I never said a word about that. I think it's a good thing.
It's already in it's already in the budget to repair roads. It's in every local budget. It's in the county commissioner's budget. It's in the city's budget. It's in the state's budget.
Right.
It's already there.
But they're not doing it.
What I have a problem with.
There's also a law that you can't jaywalk in Ocala, and they don't enforce it. There are certain things we have that don't get used.
I don't want to conflate one issue with law versus passing the appropriations bill, which is how you fund infrastructure. They're all appropriations bills, and these appropriation bills are so broad. That's how you get built a bridge to nowhere, like
absolutely. That's
how you get. That's how you get the cross-border barge canal.
Sounds like you listen to Larry and Robin, because this is exactly what we say. We say the same thing. We said the same thing about 9% or 90%. I mean, of the amendments that are being proposed for the upcoming election.
Okay.
We said the same thing.
But again, that's why whenever I hear the word infrastructure,
right,
I think it's just a political jargon that politicians use, because people think, oh gosh, yeah. You really think that I have any impact on the airport in LaGuardia? here in the state of Florida. No, that is
I used a bad example. Okay, you asked me for one example.
No, but it's not. It's not. But that's the way they do it. Okay, so a bridge collapses in Birmingham, Alabama.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden infrastructure becomes a huge problem.
Right.
Right? I'll give you a better example. During Katrina, when the lock system and the levee system collapsed because it was completely overrun,
right,
and all that money was mismanaged, now all of a sudden infrastructure became a huge issue. And then you go back and you look at it and you see the government that was overseeing these locks and levees failed at their job, but there was tons of funding for it. But somehow there's supposed to be a national bill.
That's a different thing, right?
There's supposed to be a national bill, and Donald Trump talks about it, drives me crazy, about we have to improve our infrastructure. And the federal government has nothing to do with those locks and levees in New Orleans that caused the flooding. Nothing.
Yes, they do.
State-run issue.
Yes, they do, because they contribute. Some of that money comes from the federal government, or from the federal from the federal taxpayer, I should say.
I'll give you that, but it's also a huge boondoggle because the money is never used appropriately.
Well, that's a different thing, though. If
okay, but that's just it. I hate giving the government money because I think they don't spend it.
Well, then how do you? Okay, that's
a long history of it.
That's why you're supposed to try to really vet the people you vote for, so that the person you vote into office uses your taxpayer money the way you want them to. That's why we vote. So that we have somebody who's just using their money to fly for vacations or whatever else they want to waste it on. And they don't do that. And instead, they keep our roads looking good. They keep our military strong. I know military is not part of the infrastructure, but that's part of what their duties are. And I know that's not the Marion County taxes. That's the federal taxes with the military. I think I have a hard time believing that you really believe what you're saying regarding infrastructure, because I can't imagine that a guy who drives thousands of miles a year wants roads that fall apart.
Never said that. But again, we're talking about, I really honestly believe we're talking about two completely different things.
What?
There's already funding.
So what do you think I'm saying?
Budget.
Let me see.
In the state budget.
Let's see if we understand each other.
What you want to do is you want to spend more of our percentage of GDP on infrastructure. Is that right?
I want to be sure that our infrastructure is as good as it can be.
So as a politician, if I say, you know what, we're going to increase the amount of spending we have on the infrastructure.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Area. No. I didn't say that. I didn't say you said. If I said as a politician, I want to spend more money on infrastructure in the area that I'm over, right? So that my constituents can have better infrastructure. You'd be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Well, the way you're wording it makes me want to ask the candidate this question. Isn't there enough money already?
Okay. So now we're on the same page.
We've been on the same page.
Already? No, we haven't.
I told you, you've been listening to Robin and Larry. This is exactly what we say all the time.
Let me go back and restate my point. When politicians talk about increasing, and this is how it started, increasing the amount we spend on infrastructure. When they use the word infrastructure.
Okay, the word increasing wasn't part of the first part of this conversation.
Okay, I'll change it. When politicians start talking about infrastructure,
right?
To me, that means they want more money in appropriations so that they can do with this money whatever they feel like doing. Because that's what happens.
That's when you ask. That's when you ask the question. If you have a politician who says, look, if I'm elected, I want to be sure we have a better infrastructure. Then you ask the question, well, what do you mean? Do you mean more taxes? Because if so, that's not what we want. And that's not what I was saying, Galen. I never said an increase. I said if somebody says we need to be good stewards of our infrastructure, that means somebody who's going to be frugal with the money to the point where instead of spending it for a big, $1,000 a plate dinner, for their friends, they're fixing a bridge or a pothole or improving the guardrail on the highway or maybe even building another road. I don't see why that would be something we should be against. And I only brought up LaGuardia because I'm familiar with it. I don't even know the condition of the Tampa airport or the Orlando airport. I've flown out of it, but I honestly don't know the condition of it. And it's a shame that we can't have.
So when Trump increased the infrastructure spending and put something like $1.5 trillion into infrastructure spending, did you think that was a good idea?
Did he? He put
back in February.
Okay. Well, if it's fixing things, what is it doing? Do you know?
Nobody knows. It was never passed. But that's the kind of, and this is what irritates me, is because people just use the word, and maybe I shouldn't say use specifically.
All right, so let's
we have to use the word infrastructure.
We have to land this.
Get all excited and go, oh, this
we
is
have
fantastic.
To land this.
It's going to bring jobs, and it does not.
It does.
It does not.
Yes, it does. If you have people building roads, they're getting paid. So,
oh man,
you don't think so? You don't think the guy in the hard hat?
No, hold on. You're missing what I'm saying. Again, I think you're misconstruing. When a politician uses the word infrastructure, all they want to do is increase the amount of money they control with appropriations. I've never seen an example where it improves jobs in a local community because those jobs already exist because they're already working on the roads. It's not like they're increasing the amount unless they're doing a huge project. Like if somebody wanted to build a spaghetti junction or something between I-75 and the Turnpike. I'll give you a better example. 301 is changing so they can bypass Stark from I-10.
Right.
So they're putting all this money in.
Right.
That money was put in there something like 25 years ago.
Okay.
But the money was there 25 years ago. It took them 25 years to spend a dime. Now, the workers they're using are the people who are already designated to work on 301. It is not bringing any more money into our state that wasn't already there, right? But it's going to end up costing us something like, well, it already did, I guess, $27 million. But that was spent 25 years ago, and it's not adding a dime to the local or state economy. It's a boondoggle because all they did is they saved up all that money and didn't work on that section of I-10 or 301 for 25 years. But the government officials had that bucket of money to appropriate, and now they can decide, okay, well, we want to move it here because my buddy owns this land. Oh, and then I'm going to open up this corporate company so I can get rich.
Okay.
There's a reason why our politicians.
Okay, so but you're not against.
In some cases, broke.
But you still
and come out millionaire.
Well, you don't want me to talk. You are not making a good case to support your original statement that you were against a candidate who says I will improve infrastructure. That was your first statement. You're not making what you're making a good case against is the same thing we make a good case against, which is the misspending of money, the mishandling of tax money, the overspending of things we don't need, the building of roads we don't need, or the building of a bridge we don't need, as you said, but the building of things we do need and the improvement of things we already have built. That's the smart elected official, and I'm sure we have some. I can't believe they're all good old boy behavior. I'm hoping anyway. I have a little bit of optimism about that. So
can you give me one politician who left office and the infrastructure was better?
No, I cannot, because I don't know that. But I can tell you some projects that made life better for the people who used those projects, and I can tell you that every man and woman who worked on those highways got paid. And I can also tell you, hey, Galen, I can also tell you that people who come to Florida to spend their tourism money use those roads and pay those tolls. The money does come into our state because of those things.
I love tolls. Love toll roads. They're better than regular roads because there's money going directly to them. I love it.
But so
a better example.
The argument is crazy because we're agreeing.
I just don't think politicians should ever use the word
infrastructure. All right. You know what? So if you're running for office ever, just say, if I'm elected, I want to make sure all these potholes in town are filled. I want to make sure that bridge is working properly. I want to make sure that the kids have a shelter for when they're going to school.
Yeah.
For their school bus. I want to make sure that the school buses themselves are working better than they ever have.
Be specific.
And as far as the teachers buying supplies for their classrooms, which is how this started, we've heard from so many teachers that they, in fact, do that.
Yeah, they do.
So,
I hate it. I hate that, but I don't know if I should pay for it. I think the school board should figure out how to pay for it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we've said all along.
Sure.
But it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense that you go to Publix and you have a little kid sitting at a card table asking if you'll buy a $20 card that is going to save you 10 cents when you go to Sonic's.
Yeah, exactly. Doesn't make any sense.
And you feel bad because you say, okay, here's my $20. And then you have this card. And these poor kids, they don't know what they're doing. They're just trying to help their teacher because they don't have enough supplies in their school.
Yeah.
So that stuff does happen. And that's another inappropriation of money because you said it exactly the same. It's the same thing as with the infrastructure. The money is collected and it's not used. Which is why
it's used in the way that the politicians want it to be used.
Which is why the governor's doing the right thing with SunPass, by the way.
Yes, he is.
I'll have to read about SunPass. So I'm a fan of SunPass just because I don't have to pay it.
I love SunPass too.
I use it a lot.
In fact, I don't no problem with them not charging me.
Yeah, right.
I have no problem going through those tolls and
that's right.
getting no charge. Yeah. All right.
I've never not been charged that I know of. I don't know. But I will tell you again, politicians and the government is horrible with money. They are horrific.
Agreed.
At a budget.
Every listener agrees with you.
So we should give them less money, not more.
Well, then, I don't disagree with that. And demand that they use the money for what they say they're going to use it for and do what they said they were going to do a long time ago, which was to make it transparent by way of the internet. We were told when Scott was running for office, we were told by Scott that if he was elected as the governor, and he's almost done with his term as governor, and he never did this. He said there was going to be a website. He told us on this phone here, well, probably the one in the other studio, but he told us there was going to be a website. You will be able to see every dime, every penny, every pencil that was purchased. You'll be able to see it all. Mm-hmm. Where's that website?
Yeah, not existing.
So that didn't ever happen.
Well, we just don't have the infrastructure for it. We're going to need to spend another $2.9 trillion to make sure that we can get that.
The Bloodmobile can't get where it needs to get if the roads aren't good. You're going to have a hard time driving across a crappy road.
Exactly.
I don't disagree with that. There's money already allocated.
Everybody waiting for news bites is so mad at us right now.
There's no reason, not a single reason to increase our taxes for a dime for infrastructure because that money is already there. Now, if you have a special project, why
didn't you start with that? Why didn't you say that in the first place? We wouldn't have had this whole discussion.
I will say this. My assumption is when these politicians talk about infrastructure, they always talk about increasing money for infrastructure. And maybe I should have started with that because that's what they do.
Not all of them. I will just say this. You're going to ask me for an example.
You're going to have to give me, I'll do your homework and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And you give me an example of one politician who said they were going to improve infrastructure and you can give me evidence that they improved infrastructure.
If you're going to be on the air tomorrow, you're going to have to be talking to Dan because I'm not coming in.
Oh, that's right. I guess it's Monday. See, now this was a good discussion. I liked it.
They're all good. It's just not for everybody. Everything's not for everybody.
Fair. That's fair.
All right. Well, we didn't do much. We'll get news bites in. We'll squeeze a bunch. We'll do as best we can. All right. Where's the Bloodmobile today?
Hey, the Bloodmobile, we're actually at the movie theater tonight. So come on.
How's it going to get there?
Regal Cinema.
What road's it going to take?
It'll drive on County in city roads.
Who paid for those?
To get
roads?
to that road.
Who paid for those?
My tax dollars.
Right.
My tax dollars.
And where did that money go?
And let's go back and look.
Did the money pay?
You know what?
Did the money pay for the gravel? Did the money pay for the manpower?
No.
Yes, it did.
You know what?
You know
what? I'll bet you. Hold on. Let me say this. So out of 100% of the pot that was given for that, I can't stand the government. So 100% of the pie that was given to that project, right? Let's say to make Easy Street. How much of it ended up into the coffers of the government officials?
I don't know.
How much of it went?
That's your homework assignment.
How much went?
You're going to have to tell me.
You can't find out because the government controls it.
Well, then how am I going to find out?
The government controls it.
Then how am I going to find out?
You can't. My point is we need to give them less money, not more, because they do a really crappy job of spending it.
Go donate blood, and because Galen's going to blow a vessel soon.
And the Bloodmobile will be here tomorrow at the Paddock Mall for the back to school bash.
Correct.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are going to be here.
And I will say this: we don't take $1 from the federal government, or the local government, or the county government. So there you go.
Enjoy your smoked pork tomorrow.
Oh yeah,
and your beer.
And your beer. That'll be fun.
Calm down.
I will.
Calm down. The world's not ending.
I'm calm. I love it. I do this all day.
All right, Galen. Hey, have a good weekend. Have fun tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
We'll be right back.
Friends, countrymen, tourists, and Ocalans, lend me your ears. Hey, speaking of ears, there is an opportunity for you to help feed and provide good maintenance, housing, and medical care for